Alright. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Alright, so you can start with 23.
Text 23. Yotsyamanam avikshiham ya etetra samagata dharta rashtrasya durbuddher yudhe priya chikir shava. Translation. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. Purport. It was an open secret that Duryodhan wanted to usurp the kingdom of Pandavas by the evil plans, in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhan must have been birds of the same feather. Arjun wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Text 24. Sanjaya Uvacha एवम् उक्तो हृषीकेशो गुडाकेशेन भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयित्वा रथो kamam. Sanjaya said, translation, Sanjaya said, O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjun, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Purport. In this verse, Arjun is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjun conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. Has Rishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjun's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Text 25. भीष्मो द्रोणप्रमुखतः सर्वेषां च महीकृषितम् उवाच पार्थ पश्यैतान् समावेतान् कुरुन् इति. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold Parth, all the Kurus assembled here. Purport. As the supersoul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjun. The use of the word Rishikesha in this connection indicates that he knew everything. And the word Partha, or the son of Kunti, or Pritha, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjun. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjun that because Arjun was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudev, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjun. Now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjun to behold the Kurus? Did Arjun want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha. The mind of Arjun was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking. Text 26. Tatra pashyat stithin partha pitrin atha pitamahan आचार्यन् मातुलन् भरातृन् पुत्रन् पौत्रन् शाक्यं तथा स्व श्वाशूरन् सुहृदाश्चैव सेनायोरुभयोरपि. There Arjun could see, within the midst of the armies of both parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. Purport: on the battlefield, Arjun could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Bhurishwara, Bhurishrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhan, sons like Lakshman, friends like Ashwathama, well-wishers like Kritvarma, etc. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. Text 27. Tan samikshya sa kaunteya sarvan bandhun avasthitan कृपया पारायाविष्ठो vishidan idam abravit. When the son of Kunti, Arjun, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Text 28. Arjun uvacha drishtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupashtitam siddhanti mama gatrani mukhyam cha parishusyati. Arjun said, my dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. Purport: any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotees, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjun, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight among themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver and his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjun, had come to fight with him. This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjun. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjun's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjun were not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana सर्वायर्गुणैस्तत्र समासते सुरः हरव अभक्तस्य युक्तो महद्गुण मनोरथेन सति धावतो बहि. One who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12. Text 29.
All
Vepa.
right, you can hold that. Um, all right, so text 29. Vepatuscha savire me Roma harshascha jayate Gandivam samsramsate hastat Tvak chaiva paridahyate. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end, and my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. Purport. There are two kinds of trembling of the body, and two kinds of standings of hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hand. And because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All of these are due to a material conception of life. Nacha shaknomi avashtatum brahmativa chame mana nimitani cha pashyami viparitani keshava. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. Due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield, and he was forgetting himself on account of this weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such a bewildering condition of existence. Bhayam dutiya viniveshata syat. Bhagavatam 11:237. And such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium take place in people who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisions only painful reverses in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. The words nimitani, viparitani are significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectation, he thinks, why am I here? Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would be the only cause of lamentation for him. Would be only a cause of lamentation for him. Nacha shreyo nupasyami hatva svajanam ahave na kankshe vijayam krishna na cha rajyam sukhani cha. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. Without knowing one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks by killing his kinsmen there will be no happiness in this life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. Just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence, because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. And text 32 through 35. Kim no rajena govinda, kim bhogai jivitena va, yeshamarte kankshitam no, rajam bhoga sukhani cha, ta ime svashti tat yudhe, pranam tyaktva dhanani cha, acharya pitara putras, tathaiva cha pitamaha, Matulan swasura pautra syala sambhaninastata etan nahantumichami nyagnato madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya heto kimno nahi krite nihata dhartarashtrana ka priti syaj janardana. O Janardana, O Govinda, of what avail to us our kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Muted.
Raghunadan, you can mute. Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and the senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to his friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. If the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and therefore he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in the following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against a wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. All right. So Raghunandan, do you know where we are?
No, I don't know. I don't know where you are. I don't know what book you reading, Babuji. I don't know nothing. You have to let me know.
All right. So we're at chapter 1, text 36. And
Hey, the Guru, everybody.
so while you look at that, Varun Prabhu, can you continue
Wait,
from the
what book you reading?
Bhagavad Gita?
Are you back in Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, we finished.
Continuing, Prabhuji. Text 36.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Prabhuji. Text 36. Apam evashrayad asman.
Text 36, Prabhu. Go ahead, Papam. Yeah, you said it right. You're reading the right verse. You just said 46. You're fine.
Okay. Hatvaitan atatayena tasmannarha vayam hantum dar dhatra shatran sa bandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhinah syama madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain of Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Purport. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors. Number 1, a poison giver. Number 2, one who sets fire to the house. Number 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons. Number 4, one who plunders riches. Number 5, one who occupies another's land. And number 6, one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjun was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Ram was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Ram, Ram Rajya. But Lord Ram never showed any cowardice. Ravan was an aggressor against Ram because Ravan kidnapped Ram's wife, Sita. But Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjun's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjun thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions are for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjun considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsmen? Arjun's addressing of Krishna as Madhav, or the husband of goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjun to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Text 37-38. यदि अपि एते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहता चेतसा कुलाकृशाया कृतां दोषं मित्रद्रोहे पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयम् अस्माभिः पापाद् अस्मान् निवर्तितुम् कुलाकृशाया कृतां दोषं prapashyadbhir janardana. O Janardan, although these men, their hearts, O Janardan, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Purport. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such obligation, Arjun could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhan. In this connection, Arjun considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjun, however, could see the evil consequences and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjun decided not to fight. Text 39. Kula krishaye pranashyanti kula dharmah sanatana dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhibhavati uta. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Purport. In the system of the Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious traditions to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. Text 40. अधर्माभिभवत् कृष्णा प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रिया स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वर्ष्णेया जायते वर्णसंकरः. When when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. Purport. Good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashram religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womenhood. All children are very prone to be misled. Women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varnashram system. On the failure of such Varnashram dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence.
All right, you can stop there, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, Raghunandan, you know where we are, right?
Yeah, Babuji.
Okay, so please accept my obeisances, glories to Prabhupada, and you can continue from text 41.
Please accept my humble obeisances, all those who should have participated. Bhagavad Gita 141. Sankaro Narakayeva Kula Gyananam Kulasyacha Patanti Pitarohi Visham Yukta Pinto Daka Kriha. Okay. Translation. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life for both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performance of offering them food for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Purpose. According to the rules and regulation of punitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in their subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam foods are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in the devotional life is not required to perform such action. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 11:541. Devasi bhuta ninam pritnam na kinkaru nayam nicha rajan davatmanaya saranam saranyam gatu mukundam parihitya katam. Translation. Anyone who has shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties nor obligation to the demigod. Sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers, such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 42. Dushaye itaye kula jnanam prana sankara karakayi itasyanti jati damaha kula damascha satvata. By translation, the evil deeds of those who family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. But community projects for the four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatan Dham, of an ashram Dham, are designed to enable the human being to attain his ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatan Dham tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. Text 43. Utsana Pulada Mana Manus Yanam Janadana Narakiniyatam Vasu Bhavatiti Anususruma. Translation. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwells always in hell. Purport. Arjuna bases his argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authority. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right persons who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Vajrayana by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayaschitaha. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable life as a result of sinful activity. Bhagavad Gita 144. Ahu bata mahat papam.
Okay, you can hold that. You can hold that.
Okay.
That's 11. All right. So text 44. Aho bata mahat papam kartam vyavasita vayam yad rajya sukha lobhena hantum swajanam udyata. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. Purport. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world, but Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore takes care to avoid such activities. 45. Yadimam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanaya dhartarashtra ranehanyas tanme shema taram bhavet. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. Purport. It is a custom according to Kshatriya fighting principles that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, decided that even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he would not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All these symptoms are due to soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord. And text 46. Sanjaya uvacha evam yukvarjana sankhe ratho pashta upavishad visraja sasaram chapam soka samvignamanasa. Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bows and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So, chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. Text 1. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tata Kripaya Vishtam Ashru Purna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen into the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to future results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. In text 2, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutashtva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupashtitam Anarya Justam Ashvargyam Akirti Karamajana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport. This Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2-11, this conception of the Absolute Truth is explained thus. Vadanti tat tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam avyayam Brahmeti paramatmeti brahma bhagavaniti sabjate. And the Absolute Truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the Absolute Truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the Absolute Truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So I'm going to stop here, and Varun Prabhu, can you continue in the purport?
Yes, Prabhuji. Different aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student, the student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth, and the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the absolute truth are the topmost transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another. And yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Paramah Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete chamsha kalaha pumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Nidayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjun's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word Kutaha, where from. Such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applied to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjun was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjun for his kinsman. Text 3. क्लैभ्यां मा स्म गमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वायि उपापाद्यते कुशूद्रं हृदया दौर्बल्यं त्यक् त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ parantapa. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading importance. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport. Arjun was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjun had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahman acts impiously, he is a Brahman in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmans are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjun to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjun was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjun abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjun did not fit his personality. Arjun might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives, but Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Such false magnanimity was not approved by any authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called non-violence should be given up by persons like Arjun under the direct guidance of Krishna. Text
All
4.
right.
Okay.
You can hold there, please. All right. So, Raghunathan, you can continue with text 4.
People text for anything for long. I'm just fixing something. Okay. Text for Arjuna Uvacha Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankriye Durnam Cha Madhusudana Yeshubhe Pratyotisyami Pujaha Arisudana. Translation. Arjuna said, who kill of enemy, who kill of Madhu? How can I counteract with arrows the battle? In battle, men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my wish. Respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipped. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counteract them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather, Udrasena, or his teacher, Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Krishna. 2:5 Gurun Athavati Ahat Vahi Mahan Bhavan Shriyo Gurtum Bahikshayam Api Luke Apiha Luke Hatvata Kamam Stu Ihaiva Bhuni Jia Bhugan Hira Pradik Gidan, Gidhan, Adik Gidan. Translation. It would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring world decades, they are superior. If they are killed, even everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Purport. According to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost the sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Jonah were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of his financial assistance. Although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations, under the circumstances they have lost their respectability of teacher. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profit after killing them would mean to enjoy spoil tinted with blood. 6. Na chaitan vidmakya kataranu gayu sasa jayamayati vana jayu yan iva hadvanachi jijivishna samas Tivastita Pamuki Datarastraha. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhatarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. Purport. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriya, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Now there was certain of victory. Nor was there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious even if victory awaited them, and their cause was justified. Still, if the sons of the Tarasha died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence under the circumstances. That would be another kind of defeat for them. All this consideration by Arjuna definitely proved that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities combined with the faith in the words of instructions of Krishna. His spiritual master indicated is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge, devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes. Over the above, his numerous attributes over and above his numerous attributes in his material relationship.
All right, so we can stop here tonight.
33.
All right, so we will start at 7 tomorrow. We're stopping at 6. And that's chapter 2. All right, so basically what we are seeing here is Arjuna is seeing on the battlefield all kinds of relatives. He can see persons like Bhurishrava, who is father's contemporaries, He could see grandfathers like Bhishma and Somadatta, and teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya. And then she can also see uncles like Salya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was his half brother, sons like Lakshman, friends like Ashwatthama, and well wishers like Kritavarma. He could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. So it is saying that when Arjuna saw this and he was affected, such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness, which is a characteristic of a pure devotee. And it is therefore said that one who has unflinching devotion for the personality of Godhead has all the good qualities of demigods. But one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental platform and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. So, according to Vedic injunctions, they talk about the 6 kinds of aggressors: poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons. And so these are the kinds of people who cause difficulty in material life. And how it comes about is because of an increase of unwanted population, and that causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family traditions. So the ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. And that is called giving food to the ancestors. And because no one's doing that, they fall down from their position. They are not saved. Because by giving them prasad at specific time, they can benefit. So, if one has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda to give up liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, he doesn't owe duties nor obligations to the demigods, the sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. It doesn't say here that one should disrespect them. It says that one owes neither duties nor obligations to them, but one should still respect them. So we don't have to worship the demigods, but we can respect the demigods. We don't have to worship the sages, the great general living entities, even family members and humankind or forefathers. But we should respect them, we should have that respect. But we are not following them, we are following the personality of Godhead. So, the word Bhagavan is explained by Parasara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, and that personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. Prabhupada says that sometimes you find someone has a lot of riches, a lot of strength, a lot of fame, but no one has all the riches, all the strength, all the fame, all the beauty. Everything belongs to Krishna. Nothing belongs to any of us. We are utilizing it based on his generosity. So then Arjuna looked at the armies and he said it would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. And so Arjuna is continuing to talk, and saying, nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. And if we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. It's like a struggle between a family. They all live in the same house. And there's a big fight between everyone. And finally, most of them are killed off. But the same people who you were associating with on a regular basis, they're not there in the house anymore. And this is Arjuna's situation. He's saying that if they're now standing on the battlefield before us, and we should not be willing to kill them. If we kill them, we should not even care to live, because they are the source of our life. So that's basically untrue. But Arjuna is putting forward this argument. So we can continue reading on the next day. And anyone has any comments or questions on the subject matter?
So, Prabhuji, only two comments. One, I think it's really what Arjun has said about like the degradation and the first the loss of the family traditions, and then the degradation of the women, and then the unwanted progenies. I think that is, we are seeing it happen right now, at least in America, and definitely it's starting to happen in India also. So it's just actually very interesting to see, because all these traditions are kind of lost. I mean, the Vedic traditions, and even all this knowledge is predominantly lost. I mean, it's unless you read such texts, it's, people are oblivious to such things. And the other thing, Prabhuji, the other one, that verse where that word Vipratani comes, it's very interesting. Like, that actually Srila Prabhupada did a really wonderful lecture on it, like expanding selfishness, on that particular verse, and that was really very nice. Where he expands upon that, whenever one goes into lamentation, where everything looks opposite, all your action seems to give you opposite consequences, and you are totally bewildered. I think that's like the best time to definitely go in the shelter of Lord Krishna, because your intelligence is then completely bewildered. I don't think you can get out of it by yourself. You really do need the shelter of Lord Krishna, or the pure devotees. So
This is what is happening to Arjuna.
hmm.
Now, Arjuna was a pure devotee, and he was self-realized. So this is not Arjuna speaking, but he's speaking under the specific influence of Krishna's Maya. So Krishna put him in that situation so that he can inquire about this knowledge. And so people who are put in that difficult situation and they inquire about this knowledge, they take to it with determination because they hold on to it. You see, in material life, we can always slip back into enjoying material activity. But if we take the Krishna consciousness and we had difficult situations, we won't slip back into that again. We'll always remember what happened, and we won't actually regress in that state. So sometimes it's better if we suffer a little bit and we take to the movement, we take to Krishna consciousness. Now, this knowledge that is given in Bhagavad Gita is so fulfilling and so clears the heart of all attachment. That's basically where the issue is, the attachment. Not so much the relationships, but the attachment to the relationships. Because we can have good relationships with everyone, but we can't become attached to them. Because like pieces of chaff or pieces of wood that come together on the bank of the stream, and then all of a sudden it goes again and they're separated. So it's the same thing in human life. We come together and then we are separated. The people we know in this life, we probably will never know them again, except in the case of Krishna consciousness, where if one's going back to the spiritual world, we will be meeting other people who went back to the spiritual world. And that way Krishna consciousness oversteps even that situation in the material world, whereby everything is temporary and it's finished after a certain point in time. With Krishna consciousness, there is a continuation. So that's a very good point that you made there. So it's important, to remember Krishna at all times and to try to understand this philosophy. Understanding the philosophy is good, because what happens? Arjuna didn't even want to kill his enemies. He didn't even want to kill them. He was willing to go to take the position as a beggar, to go to the forest and beg for his living. He was willing to do that. But, Krishna didn't want that. But that's because of his exalted consciousness. So we will see as we go along what Krishna says. When Krishna speaks to him, in a few verses down, I think it's verse 11, he will tell him, and we will see it. So we can stop here tonight, and at this point in time, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Radha Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.